Question Tuesdays, Mr. Professional Jeff is going to turn off his phone for this. I'm getting on just a teensy bit early before we do the television stuff. Hi, y'all. What's going on? I got a whole lot of questions today to answer. And let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here. How's everybody doing out there? All right, we'll wait until a few more people come on. Welcome to 20 Question Tuesdays. Questions coming, answers coming. A whole lot of great questions for today. I haven't done one of these solo in, I don't know, maybe 6 months. But there's reason for that, and we will talk about it in a minute. We're just about to go live on Austin Music TV, and so everybody stay tuned in. Get your questions in as fast as you can, and I'll try and answer everybody's questions as fast as possible and in an orderly fashion. I don't know why I would. Why do I want to do it fast? I don't know why. Sup, Jana? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome everybody to Austin Music Television. I am Jeff Plankenhorn, the player to be named later, and this is 20 Question Tuesdays with me. Boom, ba boom, boom, boom. Oh, that's just tips. Sorry. Well, tips too. Tips are important. So for those of you who are uninitiated, 20 Question Tuesdays started early on during the first lockdown of 2020. I flipped on my camera. I started asking questions, and all sorts of incredible people started showing up, and musicians, songwriters, shredder guitar players, managers, booking agents, friends of all sorts, writers of the non-music variety, artists, graphic designers, DJs. And when I say DJ, I mean people who rock doubles. Thank you very much. There's other DJs too, but those are my favorite. So anyway, shortly after I started doing it, Sheila Steele asked if I would put this on Austin Music Television, and it's been a real joy for me. I just want to let you know that I'm going to be changing the format up a little bit next month. It's going to be only for my people on the Patreon, and so we're moving it around a little bit. Oh, volume's bad? Okay, well, hold on. Here's a little bit more volume. Thank you for that, Randy. Yeah. And long story short, I'll be moving this over to the Patreon thing, but we should, cross your fingers, be able to still have it on Austin Music TV. I need to talk to Sheila about that. But thank you, Austin Music TV, for letting me have this on air. I have so many great questions. Do me a favor, folks who are already out there right now, share this post. Let people know that I am available for your questions regarding music or life or anything. I don't know. Somebody is going to ask me about that secret ingredient to the Thai waterfall beef salad. And when they do, I'm going to tell them the answer. But let's go first. The first question has to be an incredible name drop because many of you know I was in Austin last week for a funeral for a very dear friend of mine. And it was a somber occasion, but a lot of beautiful stuff came out of it. We will miss you, Yogi, but we will keep your memory alive with music. I certainly found that out from the huge outpouring of people at the memorial and stuff like that. But I got a great opportunity, and I will be coming back to Texas, leaving Thursday, and I will be opening for Carolyn Wonderland at let's see, for her CD release parties at the Heights in Dallas, and I'm sorry, the Heights is in Houston, and the Kessler Theater in Dallas. That is Friday and Saturday this weekend. You can grab information at, this is where you find out information about me, and you can do all the bands in town and find links and tickets and all that stuff. But the reason that I get to name drop the fantastic and wonderful Carolyn Wonderland is that she offered up a question. And her question was, will you be solo? Will you be bringing a band? And will you sit in with us? Oh yeah, I'm feeling pretty cool right now. I'm not going to lie. I feel cool. You guys know Carolyn Wonderland, right? She has a new record out, Smashtastic. It's really, really incredible. And so please, if you're in those areas, please come and check us out. But I will be solo for those gigs. for these. I learned from Ray Wiley like many years ago. There's name drop number two. Uh, you never, as an opener, you want to kind of pare it down to whoever you're opening for. So it's nice to open modestly with like a good solo gig, et cetera, et cetera. But she asked if I would sit in, and the answer is hell yeah. And I don't mind saying hell yeah. So, Carolyn, I really look forward to that. Thank you so much. Let's see. Second question that I wrote down from. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know, usually there's a guest on, but today I am just doing it solo. I'm kind of in between all this other stuff, and I haven't done it this way in like 6 months. So it's great to see everybody. Tables are sold out. Only general admission seats available for both shows. What? Carolyn, you deserve every little bit of that success. You are a tone having, guitar playing, singing, songstress of delight. And I don't know, it's just it's not corny to say it's an honor. We're going to have a ton of fun. Randy, that's awesome. Thanks for putting that out there over there on YouTube. Thanks to all my YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook peoples. Okay, so we got all sorts of other questions coming in, and I want to get to all of them. Steve Young asked a cool guitar nerd question, and Carolyn, I'd be curious as to what you do with this as well. He asked, Jeff, what kind of slide do you use with your guitar? And Steve, that depends on what kind of slide I'm playing. Okay, so when I first started out on just like I played guitar for years, just playing a little bit of bottleneck here and there. But in my early 20s, someone asked me to be in a bluegrass band, and they said, "Hey, would you like to play dobro?" And I said, "What's a dobro?" So all the guys in the band, this was my freshman year in college, sophomore year in college, I think, something like that. They said they all put $20 in, and they bought me a dobro, which was it was actually a copy. It was a national, and we put a nut raiser on it, and you put it on your lap, and then you play it this way. And that was so I could learn how to play bluegrass stuff. The first slide they tend to tell you about is this Stevens slide. Don't mind me. I have no idea if this is in tune or not. But for those of you who don't know, a dobro is the one that's got the hubcap in it. Generally, it's got a square neck, right? And that's so you can play high up on the strings. Like I said, I have no idea if this is in tune. Oh, it's nice and in tune. So when you're playing slide with on your lap, this is also called a tone bar, right? This is a Stevens slide. It's kind of like a great starter. You can get it at any music store. All the old bluegrassers that I knew started with this. It's really easy to do slants with. So this is a great starter for any kind of lap that you're doing. If you want to learn George Harrison lap steel parts, if you want to learn super cool bluegrass parts, it's really great. Once you get going a little bit more, some people like myself, I started using when I met Gene Wooten, name drop, in Nashville. Ting! I got like a bigger slide. If you notice, there's also a ridge on here, and that's to put your finger in, just like the other one. And then you mute behind the slide because if you don't mute behind the slide with your fingers, Carolyn talks about this too. Oh, that's the bad sound. Nobody wants that. I mean, unless you're really going for that ugly percussive, you want that. But if you're not doing it on purpose, then it's pretty gnarly. So you mute behind the slide. And I like these two because they have this real kind of point on them, so when you do like single notes, it's really easy to get those notes. So anyway, that's kind of good for this kind of playing. But I will change it up crazily, right? I really love bottleneck for acoustic guitars. I really love, which means like literally like an old what do they call it? I can't say the word right. Corsican, the little pill bottles. Willis Allen Ramsey, name drop number 3, gave me one of his literal pill bottle ones. That one was smoking. I also, you got to use what works for you. Oh, wait, here's what Carolyn says. Handmade glass slide, hollow, sounds different enough to play together with another slide player. Ooh, see, now that's really smart. Two slides playing together can be a little bit of a clash, but if your tones are a little bit different, it can be really, really beautiful. Like, I don't always have great country references, but if you listen to those old Graham Parsons records, there was a lot of like pedal steel and dobro, and ooh, they matched really, really nicely together. But that's exactly right. So Carolyn uses a handmade glass slide. I've seen people use all sorts of different things. I played a festival earlier this year here in Canada, um, and I got there, and for some reason I had no slides, so somebody gave me like an imp, which is like a impedance thing for microphones. It's just a piece of metal. I ended up doing the whole gig on that. Wasn't ideal, but it worked. Um, so long story short, this is a very long answer. There are so many kinds of slides out there, so many that you can try out that are beautiful. Um, and I would say places like South Austin Music, places like um, Straight Music are places where you would be able to find. I'm trying to do this right to not mess with the FCC. Uh, uh, um, Places where you would find all sorts of different slides and you could try them out. That's part of the fun too. Definitely. Oh, and I was just doing something the other day for someone, and I was doing over the top of the neck with like a regular guitar, you know? Beer bottle. Beer bottle is great for that. Gurf Morlix only plays slide on an electric with a beer bottle above the neck. Big, round, glassy tone. So much fun. Lighters. Oh, I gotta say, for me, when I was in rehab, no joke, 30 days, no guitars or anything like that. All of a sudden, the guitar showed up. Then you're playing some stuff. What do? Lighter was the best. It was so nice to have a lighter. And lighter is plastic. People don't know that a lot of people like George Harrison on a lot of that stuff used a plastic bullet slide for a whole lot of that My Sweet Lord and things like that. There you go, Brian Blake. My national sounds best with a ceramic. There you go. So we've already got, 10 minutes of discussions on different types of slide. You only wanted to know what I use. I mostly use one of these weird, kind of heavy bars. Um, but I use all of them eventually. Great question. Larry King says, what was the first song you listened to today? And what was the first song you played today? This is a great question, and I love the kind of question that you ask because you would think that by now, after being up for about 3.5 hours, I would have listened to and played some music today. But the sad truth of the business of music is that I have not been able to listen to anything yet today, except for the songs in my head. And the first song I played today was actually, oh, that's funny. I actually did. Someone jokingly asked if I would play Copacabana because they know that I'm secretly a Fanalo. And so I started, I was like, yeah, no, but I was messing around and I went, I remembered, you came along just like a song and brightened my day. Who'd have believed you were part of a dream? Now it all seems light years away. You know I can't smile without you. Can't laugh without you. No, that's anyway. I can't laugh and I can't sing. Finding it hard to do anything. You know how I feel. Anyway, so yeah, I played Barry Manilow first today, so I'm embarrassing the crap out of myself. I'm secretly a Fanalo. And when I was a little kid, my mom used to play Barry Manilow right next to Stevie Wonder and Nina Simone, and I was 4 years old. So what am I gonna listen to? Listen to what my parents play, and so I have this secret soft spot for Manilow. You know, I got no one is talking about Manilow right now. Okay, so moving on from that, Larry. By the end of the day, I will be mostly working on music that I have like a whole bunch of recordings that I need to do today in the plank tank here. And that'll be exciting because I get to work on some really beautiful music for some great people. I do enjoy the remote recording when I'm up here in the Great White North. Steve, great question. Larry, great question. Jana, oh, I love this question. Jana Pokop, songwriter, new music out, Matador. Jana Pokop, please look her up. Let's see, P-O. Yeah, let me just put her name there. Jana Pokop. It's P. Jana Pokop. Pokop. Barely man enough. That's great. Hey man, I can't help it. Everybody needs a little cheese. Everybody needs a little sugar sometimes. That's my choice. What am I going to do? Nice to see you there, Dave Share. Jana Pocott, putting her there so you can find out about her new music. But her question is, if I were to have three electrics in a guitarsenal, which is, I'm really glad that you used my trademark term guitarsenal. I often have a guitarsenal here and a guitarsenal in Canada, but it is patent pending, so please don't use that without mentioning me. If I could have three guitar electrics in a guitarsenal, what combination would be ideal for the most range flexibility of tone? And this is from, if you are a guitar player, there's a number of different ways to go. You can be the jack of all trades, or you could be the person who defines themselves by whatever type of guitar they play. And I also find that it is no secret anymore that when you have a great guitar player, they sit down with any guitar and they sound like themselves. It's crazy. People will say, "Oh my gosh, well, you have a totally different amp for this gig." It's like, man, I just set the knobs. If I'm sitting in some place and I use the knobs on a different amp, I just end up setting them the way I want it to sound anyway. So whether it's a Vox AC15 or it's a Fender Pro Junior, I'm still going to try and make it sound like whatever is pleasing to me. Same thing with guitars. May look like I got a bunch of fun stuff up here, which I do, which has taken years to accumulate. I was always a Tele person because I thought Telecasters were, which is the white one right there with just the two pickups that I'm pointing at. I always thought they were the most versatile of the electrics. And I was never, ever a Strat guy, which is this other one here, uh, because everybody played a Strat. So why would I want to play one? Well, about a year ago, I was like, man, nobody's playing Strats right now. And I haven't had one since I was 13. So I had Roger Blevins build me this Strat, and I just got it recently. To answer your question, though, I would pick getting a guitar that has a number of sounds that you can get by just using, a couple of knobs. People will get like a Les Paul, and they will, or a guitar that has humbuckers and like have like a little splitter on it. I've seen studio guitar players show up with all sorts of weird switches on the guitar so they can get all the sounds out of one guitar. Still ends up being your hands, you know. But I mean, maybe one Fender-ish guitar, one Gibson-ish guitar, and then some sort of, we're just talking electrics here, maybe some sort of a semi-hollow, because those are, three particular sounds: humbucking, single coil, and then something that's a little bit more hollow sounding. But I do quote the late great Stephen Bruton when a young guitar player came up to him and said, "Stephen, I heard you have a lot of guitars. How many guitars do you have?" And Stephen said, "Always one less than what I need." Think about it. You will always have one less than what you need because there's another sound out there. There's something fun. There's something different. There's something. We don't buy them because it's like, you don't buy guitars usually because it's like, well, I need a blue one of these to match my other suit, right? It's ridiculous. But again, if you had the money, it might be fun. Yes, genius of Bruton. What a great answer. I find that Tellys for me still to this day are really the most versatile electric, in my humble opinion. But they do have limitations in that you kind of have to stand a certain way in the studio. Like I find myself turning around because there's like a buzz. Fender guitars in general, it'd be like, "Wah," and then I play standing like this because there's no buzz in the room. But I don't know what it is. Leo kind of knocked it out of the park with that first thing. Um, but Les Pauls are a beautiful tone. They're just so dang heavy. Sherry from down the street. Hello, Sensei. Okay, Brian Blake says Derek is a good example of it's all in the hands. He sounds like Derek no matter what he's playing, instantly recognizable. That is a really, 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 really super, super good comment, and that's what you will find. Your favorite players, I would venture to say, and I'm not just saying this. Carolyn is that way. If I hear a record, sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, cool, it's Carolyn," because I've been around her for 20 years and I know how she plays and I love her playing and I'll hear something, I don't know, maybe it'll be a Shelley King thing or something else that she did, but it's recognizable. We all know how if you hear Willie Nelson, you go, "Oh man, that's Willie," because it's a classical guitar played with a flat pick with crazy phrasing. David Grissom is like that. I don't care what guitar you put him on. You give me about 5 seconds of David Grissom, chances are I'm going to be like, "Oh, cool, David played on that, you know, McMurtry record," and stuff like that. All in the hands. All in the hands. These are just tools. But it's nice to have lots of tools, right? Because then you're ready for it. Ooh, I could use this on this song, or I could use this on this song. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Again, great questions. 20 Question Tuesdays live on AustinCityJams.com. Also on Austin Music TV. Thank you, Sheila Steele. And on my Facebook, my Twitch, and my YouTube. Thanks for being here, and thank you for the tips too. That's how I keep the show going. Next week we're gonna have Violet Lee from Madame Radar. She's got a Halloween album out, and she's fantastic. And then after that is Jane Ellen Bryant, and then after that is Roberta Morales. Or no, Lisa Morales. I'm so sorry, Lisa Morales, um, which is gonna be really, really spectacular. Telly girl here, been in Blues Hawk land because Mail's band needed P90s to my ears. Carolyn, brilliant. Yeah, you've always had that thin line telly. For those who don't know, Carolyn's thin line telly is an F-hole telly. So right on this part here, it's like it's got an F-hole and it's like a semi-hollow. Unique sound. I first heard him from Sly and the Family Stone. Sly was always playing with thin line. Always loved that tone when he rarely played guitar. But your Blues Hawk is such a cool guitar with so many different tones in it as well. Not just because of the P90s, but that guitar has like cool switching capabilities that other Gibsons didn't. And it's nowhere near as heavy as a freaking Les Paul. I mean, it's a real thing when you got to carry a log around for like 4 hours on stage, or even 2.5 or even an hour. It's a thing. Okay, so Jana, I certainly hope that helped a little bit. But I would say, depending on your pickup combination, that's really most of it. And then the rest is in your hands. People will say, "Do you have a Strat?" And now I can say yes, but I have a weird one. You just end up playing it. And if they like it, they like it. Okay, so let's go to Charles, who I noticed who is here. I really dig this question, and this is good for a lot of musicians who are out there. It says, "I see some respected musicians with promotional posts," and he has that in quotes, "for their music." Yes, we do. Do you think it's all right for an independent musician to pay for promotion? Many independent artists don't have a record company to do it for them? Question mark. Do anything that works. I think it's more than fair. It is so hard to quote unquote beat the algorithms on like Facebook or YouTube or anything else. I was talking with my friend Jana this morning about how I really love Bands in Town because there's no filler. It's just like, here's my gigs, check it out. And it always seems to be growing, and ticket links and stuff like that. And I don't have to worry about some, little schmuck who, decided he was going to make a website to make fun of girls who became a billionaire. I don't like giving him money. Sorry. But I will say, as far as promotional posts are concerned, be careful when you do it because it can be a big money suck too. I would say if you do some Googling or you talk to some people who know what they're doing, I learned a lot of things about what to put in posts that, or what not to put in posts that just suck it down. Like too much text in a post on the picture means that the algorithm goes, oh, he should be paying for a promotional post. And then all of a sudden, you got nothing. It just sinks you right down to the bottom unless you are paying. But you can get around that by, having a good fan base, by getting people to talk. You know how they talk about how on your posts, uh, incendiary, or what's the word? Things that get people angry, things that get people talking, get the most on Facebook. Well, the positive, shiny, happy people side of that is the more people comment on my post, the more it gets around to other people. It doesn't have to be negative at all. But if you put up a post and nobody's really interested in commenting on it, that's why so many people are like, what do you think about this? Or, you know, what's your favorite blah, blah, blah music? Or who's your favorite drummer or whatever on their posts? Because they know if they start getting answers, they're going to get more and more and more and more people. I think it's more than all right for an independent musician to pay for promotion, because what else are we going to do? There's kind of too many of us now. This is another thing I was talking about recently. When I wanted to become a musician, it was such a small pool. It was already getting big, but it was such a small pool. It's like almost now, it's like somebody will say, like an adult will ask me who doesn't know me, hey, what do you do for a living? It's like, oh, well, I'm a musician. And then they go, I mean, they just don't believe it. Oh, I've never heard of you or whatever. And it's kind of a bummer. I am more than happy and proud that my whole life I've been able to play music and do it for a living. So I don't really care, but man, I got a lot of friends that are embarrassed, and they'll be like, "I make more than you do," and blah blah blah. And it's like, man, I wish I could say that. Long story short, it's really really difficult to promote yourself, and I think that a promotional post here or there, when targeted, is a great idea. Speaking of promotion, I am re-changing up my Patreon.com, which is my favorite thing that I'm doing right now. And I know a lot of my friends have Patreons too. And for next month, I'm going to be moving a lot of things to my Patreon because I'm so grateful. I want them to have the most exclusive content of everything I do. It's subscription based, and it's just like me directly to fan, friend, family. And put out new music every month, everything from lyrics and behind the story, behind the scenes, how this song came about, what I'm doing on this trip, yada yada yada. It's beautiful. And I will be moving stuff along. And Danielle, thank you for saying my new website looks great. Only thing I have to do on that is fix the pictures for the merchandise. They don't look great. I just need to get some pro pics for that. And then other than that, it's coming together. Thank you, Danielle. Patreon.com/Jeff Plankenhorn. That's one of the ways that you also can get as much as you can from the new stuff from me. Okay. Do. Okay. Only one more so far that I put in, which is Doug Ryan's question. And he asks this of a lot of people. He says, what is your most important spiritual principle? Uh-oh. I'm a golden rule guy, and I know sometimes that's a cop out. You guys remember the famous actor Gene Wilder? Gene Wilder said, golden rule is the only religion I need. And I'm a big fan of that. I'm not anti religion. Organized religion gets on my nerves quite a bit when it's not done for the benefit of people and it's kind of self whatever. I'm not a big fan of the Allsteins, not a big fan of mega churches, and not a big fan of killing people in the name of a religion. Never have been. Always thought that was kind of shitty. Call me crazy. I like the golden rule a lot. But besides the golden rule as being, because and that's a common answer. A lot of people say, oh, I really love the golden rule. And it's true. Uh, man, I think that um, once you realize that we're all in this together, it's kind of a lot easier. Somebody gets mad at me about something, I'm kind of like, well, you know, maybe I was wrong, and I like to see my part in things. My wife being a horticulturalist and me being out in nature has been a really, really big thing for me becoming a little bit more uh, one with the universe, so to speak. I got to tell you guys, it's a better way to live. It's made me a lot less resentful, and that's good religion for me too. I really, really, really dig it. It's kind of hard to go you know get mad about the world or think the world's in a terrible place when you go for a walk in the woods, and kind of puts things into perspective. So I'd say my most important spiritual principle, for sure, it would be the golden rule. But I try daily to find ways to connect, and be it meditation, be it friendship, be it whatever. I don't know, just keeps me sane and keeps me from not being as resentful as uh, as I was at one time a long time ago. So I hope that answers your question a little. We got some more questions up here. Keep them coming. If you could go back in time, what live performer or act would you go see perform live? It's so easy for me, Mark, because I'm such a huge Stevie Wonder guy. Um, and I know I can go see Stevie Wonder now and uh, have and will continue to see every single show I can. That's my guru. That's my hero. That's my top of everything. And so I would only like to go back and see him because I'd love to see him in the different times. You know, the era when um, Songs in the Key of Life came out. I'd like to see that Stevie Wonder live. I watched a lot of videos of that. That's when I was a kid. I was maybe 4 years old. Big introduction to music. Big reason why I play music for a living. Would love to see that. I'd also love to see little Stevie Wonder, and I'd like to see the Motown days. You know, hear him playing harp when he was just starting to play harp. It's pretty spectacular. Those of you who are guitar players want to learn how to solo, learn other instruments than guitar for solos. Do horn players, do uh, guitar players. You know, guitar players learning horn parts is really, really great, or harmonica parts. I mean, you come up with cool phrasing that nobody else does. And I like to learn Stevie Wonder solos just for fun. I would go back and I would see Stevie Wonder. I'm trying to think of somebody who is not with us anymore that I could go back and see, Mark. Um, I'd like to see Paganini. He was a real shredder. Play violin. That would be cool. Uh, Probably a weird answer. Um, I'm also a particularly big Ella Fitzgerald, and we were talking with him a lot a couple of weeks ago about Ella Fitzgerald. That's probably one of my favorite voices in the world. Nina Simone, Billie Holiday, although it would tear my heart out because every time I listen to her, I kind of just go, oh. So I don't know. I think one of those, maybe some early jazz, maybe some Paganini, things of this nature. Um, Guitar players, so many. I can't tell you how many guitar players I would have loved to have seen because I'm always trying to steal stuff anyway. Like when I watch a guitar player, I close my eyes and I listen at a show. I'm always like looking for another tone, another phrase, another something, and I find it so inspiring to be in an audience. And I don't get to do it very often either. Um, Barely get to see my contemporaries, much less my heroes. But great question. Okay, who else has got some questions here? Let's see. Mark, I hope I answered that okay. Wayne Wilkingham says, how long will you be in Dallas? Just for the one night. I will just be there for the Kessler. This weekend is bam, bam, bam. Let's see. Here's how you grab those dates and stuff. But if I'm not correct, or if I am correct, Friday night opening for Carolyn at the Heights in Houston. Saturday night in Dallas opening for Carolyn at the Kessler. And Sunday night I will be playing the Saxon Pub, doing an all Stephen Bruton birthday celebration for the late great Stephen Bruton and playing songs of Stevens. And those are always a gas because Stephen started the Resentments. I want to say in '98, and I've been in the Resentments for a little over 10 years. Um, it's a pretty great institution. It's pretty awesome, and I'm pretty glad. All right, who's got some more questions? Let me scroll up here, make sure I'm not missing anything. I did say howdy to Sherry. Everyone has secret pop music favorites. You know, Charles, that's usually a question that I ask everybody at the end of the show. Is uh, I always ask everybody what their favorite guilty pleasure is. So if you go back through many, many, many of these shows, you'll find out what everybody's guilty pleasure is. I'm interested in what y'all's guilty pleasure is. I always love hearing when, like, not a lot of people know that Matt the Electrician, you know, as being a folky guy who writes these really, really, really beautiful songs, mostly on acoustic guitar and ukulele, he's he's a punk guy. He's a Misfits guy. He's like, he loves that stuff, and it may not come through in his music. A lot of people don't know I'm into Stevie Wonder as much as I am. Maybe it does, or maybe it doesn't come through. More questions here, more questions here. There, how long have you been in Dallas? Barely man enough. Thanks for the tip. Lighters and rubber chickens. Marvin Dykehouse plays with a socket wrench. Yes, you know, the socket wrench thing is a thing that also was coined first, I believe, by Lowell George from Little Feat. And that slide tone that Lowell gets, and then Lowell being a big influence on the great Bonnie Raitt, who uses a bottle slide, literal bottleneck, and one of the greatest slide players ever. Looking to come to one of the shows, but I want to know where I'll be sitting. Hey, Randy, if you're having trouble with show stuff, then just get in touch with me, and I'll find out, and I'll do the best I can to help to find out. Oh, the general admission. I get what you're saying now. There you go. All right. Good writers borrow from other writers. Great writers steal from them outright. Aaron Sorkin, West Wing dialogue. That's fine. And as much as I'm a West Wing fan, and I actually remember that, uh, I always thought that quote was attributed to Beethoven. That Beethoven said. Maybe that's baloney too, but I think we could look it up. It's good composers or bad composers borrow music. Good composers steal it. Of course, it would have been in German. But yeah, that's an age old thing. Um, we are not able in any way, shape, or form to do anything completely new. But to take all of the influences that we love and come up with something that is our own, I don't know, whether I'm looking at Emmylou Harris or I'm looking at Bill Monroe or I'm looking at Jimi Hendrix, that's what they did. They took their influences and they came up with something that was their own. You know who else? Let's talk about this on Spotify, about a Spotify playlist I got on the other day. Black Pumas and Fantastic Negrito, both. You know, you'll go to their playlist to try and find new stuff, and most of what you'll find is like blues and R&B, but it's not nearly as groundbreaking or interesting as either of their musics because they took their influences and kind of melded a whole bunch of stuff things together. You know, and that's what I find really fascinating and beautiful. How do you pack your gear for flying by Carolyn Wonderland? Oh, great question. Yeah, I know you know the trials and tribulations. Number one rule for me, Carolyn, and I don't know if you feel the same. I don't pack anything that I wouldn't be okay with disappearing. Is a horrible, horrible thing that I've had to learn to deal with. Horrible, horrible thing that I've had to deal with. But I've had too many things smashed. Sadly, I have had too many things smashed. So if I take something on the road or I take something on a flight, I have to tell myself, okay, I'm okay with this being given to the gods of music or being stolen because somebody else needed a guitar and had to play it, and that was the only way they would get it. But when I pack my gear, I bring as little as possible, and I have full on over the past 10 years gotten to the point where, again, I have a guitar arsenal in both places. So the way I started that out was this. I needed one electric guitar, one electric slide guitar, one acoustic guitar, and one acoustic lap slide guitar in Canada and in the States. And last year, I finally achieved that after 15 years of coming to Canada and almost 10 years of marriage of coming back and forth to Canada on the regular with instruments. And it was really, 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 really worth it. Because last week when I flew and this week when I fly down for your shows, I will have nothing but a backpack. And there's this whole different thing about flying when you don't have gear, when you're a musician. You're like, this is the easiest thing in the world. I don't care if I'm the last person on and the last person off the plane. I don't fly in fear. I don't like go down the escalator to whatever baggage claim I'm going, I wonder if they broke my guitar. I wonder if my guitar is here. I'm just sitting there with my backpack like, so that's the way on Thursday I will be flying. You know, I really wanted to bring this crazy Strat for my last gig in Austin. And I was like, I have to take 2 airlines to get from the island to Texas. So I take a hopper from Vancouver Island to Vancouver and then a flight from Vancouver into Austin. And so it's 2 different airlines. I have to switch terminals, and that means paying for baggage twice. So I would say $200 extra if I want to bring a guitar, and that's just ridiculous. You know, after 10 flights, I could have bought another guitar. So I slowly got the guitar arsenal up in both places. And I also decided that the electric guitar I had in Texas was just fine for the one gig I needed electric guitar on last week. I don't know. But then as far as that's the other things it's concerned for flying, here's a couple of secrets that I learned that were really great. They really, really love TSA latches. This is not an expensive Carolyn super awesome case, but these TSA weird stupid latches, I don't know, the baggage people love them. So you can find a good flight case, I don't know, a couple $100 instead of paying for one that costs more than your guitar does. And yes, Carolyn, cheap guitars totally rule. They totally rule, you know. Do you really, really notice the difference when you buy yourself a $6,000 guitar? The answer is yes. But is it like I want to risk $6,000 every time I fly or play a show, or, you know? And then you can get insurance too, and insurance works really, really well. I would highly recommend to any musician, get your stuff insured so you can fly. But I don't know. I prefer. That's the other thing we like about tellies. You can throw them in the back seat without a case, and they're just fine. That part is great. And then this is the last thing I was going to say about flying. 2 things about flying. First of all, 2 more things. Please look up the song "Airline Agent" by James McMurtry. It's my favorite song. He co-wrote it with James McMurtry, his old bass player, Ronnie Johnson, right? You look up "Airline Agent" and it's just, oh my God, it's the best song about flying with a guitar. It teaches you so much because it's like a shuffle, you know. Mr. Airline Agent, won't you understand? I'm a frequent traveler and a patient man. I've been mistreated just a time or 2. I stood about all I'm gonna stand from you. I got my ticket in my hand just like everybody else. I paid my money in advance so I can use a little help. You're making such a fuss, you're holding up the line. Just get me on the plane, everything will be fine. I gotta go, I gotta get me to the show. Quit looking at the hair, yeah, just get me in the air. Okay, God, I love that song so much. I covered that song for years. I don't know whether he liked it or not. Just because it speaks so much to what we have to deal with flying. Oh, you know. And it was also pre 9/11, I think, that song. So he was talking about that for a while. Yes. See, exactly. Carolyn Wonderland, she says, Caltons are awesome. Those are brilliant, amazing cases. And they used to be made in Canada and now they're made in Austin. Both freaking awesome. Calton cases, great stuff. Now my $800 guitar is in a $1,000 case. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But that case is pretty darn indestructible and, lighter than most for, they're worth looking into if you got the dough, you know. John Holman, great tune. Man, I agree. Such a great, great, great song. It was nice to be able to introduce to so many people. I was able to introduce to my wife, and she's introduced me to Canadian songwriters. But McMurtry was one that I had no idea that my wife was going to love McMurtry, but she really loves his writing and his guitar playing and his songs and that stuff. What's happening, Sean? Also, look up United Breaks Guitars on YouTube. I remember that, Joanna. I remember that for sure. Yes, I love how people on this show put all the cool stuff in the comments. So if you're watching on television right now, head over to one of my socials and you can ask questions. My socials, at least on this, being Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. We'll call them socials. And people put really, really, really great stuff in the comments, and they share each other's stuff and what they're talking about and links to things. And it's one of the coolest things I dig about doing this little show. Okay, did we get other questions? Does the difference feel like it was worth $6,000? Heh, yeah, exactly. One time I had I was working in a music store, and it was first music store I ever taught at when I was a kid. I think I was in my early 20s. There was a Flying V that was like number 3, a Carina Flying V electric guitar. Found under somebody's bed. Someone passed away. Guitar was found. Grandma's bed. Kid had it. Moved away. There was a tag on it that said 100K, not kidding. And it was in a glass box. And I played it. It was an amazing guitar. And it was great. And believe it or not, Flying V's are really fun to play because when you play them standing up with a strap, they're balanced, so they're not heavy, but they sound rocking like a Les Paul. So it's doesn't kill your shoulder, but still rocks. Plus, you can get all the way to the top of the neck, and so Flying V's are really cool. $100,000 is what they were asking for this guitar. They held out at 30. They held out at 60. And they sold this guitar for $77,000. No guitar is worth that. It's a lawyer's guitar. Sorry, lawyers. It's somebody who has a lot of money, for them to put it on their wall. It's not because it's $77,000 worth of sound. It's not. But, it was a very cool guitar. I wish I had it. But, $77,000 for a guitar. 10,000 is insane to me. 10,000 is insane to me for a guitar. I know people who don't play music for a living that spend 10,000 on a guitar. I'm like, what are you doing? Get something used that's nice. Beat the soup out of it. Also, people always have like this beater Yamaha that's just sitting around that's been there for 20 years, and they go, I can't believe how nice this is. It's like, yeah, it's been played. Guitars sound better after they've been played for a while. Danielle had a good question since Doctari is not here. She wanted to know, and I'll have time for just a couple more questions. So everybody, please get your questions in. And thanks for being here. And I really appreciate the tips right now because that last weekend, just out of nowhere, having to, whatever, it's really helpful. So thank you. I love this question from Danielle. Lee isn't here. So if you feel like I should ask if you are listening, reading a book currently, or do you have a favorite podcast right now? I have all those things. Um, I'm always reading something. I tend to have like fiction before bed because you sleep better if you read stories before bed. That's the theory. If you read like a half hour, you get out of your own head. But you can't do it with nonfiction because you start worrying about the world. But if you get out of your own head, so I'm of course always reading like Haruki Murakami and stuff like that. That's probably my favorite writer, but it's pretty well known uh, that I'm a big fan. Um, but I am reading Precipice by Noam Chomsky. I'm a huge Noam Chomsky guy, and that's really really good. Um, there's two more books I'm in the middle of. That yeah, that's the nonfiction book is Precipice by Noam Chomsky, and I just finished a Noam Chomsky book that was about on activism, which was really 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 positive. Believe it or not, Noam Chomsky talks a lot about how activism today is bigger than he thought it was, and he thinks it's more successful now than it was in the '60s. A lot of people don't realize that activism is really working right now. He cites the Black Lives Matter movement, which I think is really great because he says, if you poll the US, more than 50% of the country easily says they are for Black Lives Matter, of course. And he's like, nothing gets more than 50%, even though he thinks it's more, and so do I. Nothing gets more than 50%. Like, we voted for this, I mean, nothing does, but it's working, you know. Um, and I think he's right. He talks about a lot of stuff in that book. And so Precipice is a little bit more dark, but sometimes I got to read that. And then as far as the uh, what is the name of the one I just started? I'm in like the third chapter of Haruki's book. It's Hard Boiled. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hard Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. That's the one that I just started. I'm a big Haruki Murakami fan as well for my non-fiction, or sorry, for my fiction. Podcasts. I really, really love Duncan Trussell. Duncan Trussell podcast, the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. I hear lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of wonderful people on that. Um, who else? The other podcast that I really, really love is Broken Record with Malcolm Gladwell and Rick Rubin is an amazing music podcast. I don't do a lot of reading music books. I don't do a lot of reading stories about musicians. It's kind of like a meet your heroes thing. Ooh, doesn't usually go well. But I really, really love that podcast. Is really, I find a lot of, I dig it. Also love the Knowledge Project with Shane Paris. Ooh, and I have this guy that I love. He's this hippie. I don't know where the heck he came from, but he weekly reads the I Ching, and it is so awesome because he's like, you're here, man. Drop in, drop out. You're there, yeah. And I don't know. I kind of laugh when I listen to it, but I also get all of this weekly knowledge from the I Ching. So a big recommendation for me is the weekly I Ching with Bobby Klein. You got to be ready for some really, really hippie stuff if you're into that. And I am. Carolyn Wonderland says, I feel sorry for guitars that are so expensive they get treated like museum pieces instead of getting played. I so 100% agree with that. I don't know about you, but I started playing guitar when I was 10. And by the time I was 12, I was playing, out a little bit, here and there, kind of showing off for classes and school and blah, blah, blah. Little things, little functions. First time I was taken to a Hard Rock Cafe, I was like, what a waste. I was in Toronto. We went to like go see a show, bunch of musical theater people. We went to go see Phantom of the Opera or something like that. I don't know. Or we went to Stratford on Avon or something across the way. And to see some Shakespeare, which I'm also a closet Shakespeare guy. Don't tell anybody. Anyway, we go to a Hard Rock Cafe. I see all these guitars on the wall. I'm like, what a waste. I just was like, what are they doing? You know? I don't know. I only have the guitars that I use frequently. And if a guitar sits around for a while and doesn't get any use, it gets sold or it gets given or it gets gifted or somebody gets it that needs it. I don't I want to only have what I need to use, and that really works for me. Okay, double checking on the questions here. Let's see what we got here. Carolyn, Charles, we got that. Jana, we got that. Doug, Larry, Steve, and the online stuff. Time for maybe one or two more questions. Um, this is 20 Question Tuesdays. If you've never tuned in before, I've been doing this weekly, but I'm going to be moving this over to my Patreon page next month. And just because I'm so grateful, I really, really need to give them something. And this is a weird time because of non pandemic kind of things, or at least non lockdown. Somebody said the other day, I'm done with the pandemic. I was like, well, it's not done with you. It's not. So at the same time, we have come a long way, and I'm super, super, super hopeful, and we're moving in the right direction. But this, as well as a whole bunch of other things this month, are going to be moving over to my Patreon page where you can find new music from me every month. And I get to work with all sorts of really incredible people. And it's usually how a lot of my new albums get started. Because I try out stuff, I go directly to the fan and my friends and my family with music through my Patreon page. They comment, they tell me what they like, they give me ideas, and I'm like, man, okay, cool. I have some confidence to go start playing that at gigs and putting them on records and such. There you go, Wayne Wilkingham. I have 11 guitars, probably play 5 or 6. Hey, man, that's fair. That's totally fair. You know? Um, for a great song about a guitar, look up Martin's song by Greg Whitfield. You know, I've had people push that to me because I had written this song about the guitar that was gifted to me, the anonymous gift, my song, This Guitar. And so somebody had told me before to look up that Martin song by Greg Whitfield. It's beautiful. You are absolutely right. There's also a song. Yeah, yeah. There's also a song by Guy Clark that's called The Guitar, and that's a crazy story, as you can imagine. These are all great stories. When I wrote This Guitar, it was for a thing called the Acoustic Guitar Project. And I said, has anybody ever written a song about their guitar? And they said no. And I was like, well, that just sounds like low hanging fruit. So I went home and I wrote a quick song in like 30 minutes about, you know, this guitar that had been gifted to me anonymously that kind of helped me get started with songwriting when I immediately moved to Texas. And it was crazy, you know, it was a Martin and just showed up on my doorstep. And I never found out for sure who gave me the guitar. So it made for a good story. But then everybody kind of started hipping. Certainly knew I didn't do anything original. None of us really can. We just do our best. And you know, all these other songs about guitars, people would say, "Oh, check out the Greg Whitfield one, or check out the Guy Clark one, or check out this." And I'm happy to be in any way not associated, but even just like spoken of. You know, it's like, oh, cool. They wrote some songs about guitars that you should check out. I'm like, yes, I should. 2 guitars, 2 ukuleles, 1 banjo-lele. Yeah. You know what? It's funny because I'm a little bit more. And Carolyn, if you're still here, I'm curious to hear your take on this. I'm a weird purist when it comes to guitars. Like I don't like dobros and like weird tunings, and I don't like. I'm not a big fan of like when you take a mandolin and you put a guitar neck on it. I don't know why I have this super strange aversion to those things. Like they don't sound cool to me, and I'm always like, it's kind of lazy. They just sit there and they just play guitar chords, and it doesn't really sound like a mandolin. I went into the zone in Dripping Springs, and Pat Mansky's got one up on the wall. I was like, what is that? And I got all what's the word? I got snooty, which I have no right to be, because who cares? You can get a sound out of it. It's a great instrument. But a banjo lele or like a ukulele with like a banjo head, I don't know. That's different to me. It's like something sensible about that, something cool sounding, or like resonator basses or resonator banjos or resonator guitars that aren't regular guitars. Something about that feels right. But mandotars and banjars, like a banjo body with a 6 string neck on it. I don't know. I'm not a fan. And then somebody always breaks the rule and surprises me because I heard Scrappy Jed Newcomb playing a banjar, which is a banjo guitar, on a Johnny Nicholas song, and I was like, "Oh, that sounded awesome!" So he just blew me out of the water. It's bad for me to have prejudices against those things, but for some reason, I strangely do. I don't know. Tell me about your instruments. Susan Gibson has a good guitar song too. I should know that. Larry, do you know what the name of that song is? Because Susan and I are pals. Agreed. Learning and the tuning of an instrument exactly changes the way you play. I'm going to put up your comment because I love this. Agreed. Learning and the tuning of an instrument changes the way you play and think about playing. If you're just playing guitar on a mandolin, you rob yourself of the learning experience. Way more eloquent than I just put it, and not nearly as snooty as I just put it, where I was like, meh, meh, I don't like those. But it's true. Like, I remember one of the first things, here's another ding name drop for Ray Wiley. When I talked to Ray Wiley about like songwriting early on, he was like, I was like, oh, what do you do when you get stuck? He's like, oh, I'll just pick up another instrument. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, I got stuck and I just grabbed a mandolin. All I'm writing now is sea chanties. It was so funny because he played me this song. I was like, yeah, it kind of sounds like a Ray Wiley sea chanty. But by learning a different tuning and by investing yourself in a new instrument, it caused him to write new things. Whereas if he picked up a mandolin body with a guitar neck, he would just play the same things he knows on guitar. And I don't know, there's just something that feels like uh, it's kind of like the easy way out. It doesn't take that long. Pick up an instrument, bang it, beat the soup out of it until some noise comes out of it. You know, I don't care if it's 2 notes or you're flying. If you put some soul into it, it doesn't need to be virtuosic to be beautiful. That's humble opinion. Oh, we're already offline. Thank you, everybody. We're off of the television show. So, a couple things. Thank you, Austin Music TV. I'm sorry that you missed my thank you. That's what happens when I get talking, people, and that's why I usually have guests on this show. The Wood Wouldn't Burn. I don't know that song. It's definitely not on one of the albums that I was on. And I've only been on a couple of Susans, but I should know that song, and I'm going to be looking that up. So I'm going to put it on my listen list. Do you guys keep a listen list? My notepad, on my phone, whatever you call it, I keep a listen and a read and a listen, a read, and a watch. Because you never get to everything, right? And it's like people say, oh, you haven't heard such and such. Then I can go when I'm on the road or I'm on a plane or I'm ready or I've got some time to myself. I go, yep, I have not listened to. I must have heard that song if it's on Tightrope. The Wood Wouldn't Burn. What a great title, too. Susan Gibson, one of our great songwriters in Texas, one of our greatest songwriters in Texas. The Wood Wouldn't Burn. Susan Gibson. I have to know that. I don't know why it's not coming up in my brain. All right, everybody. Thanks for educating me always on good stuff. I love this show. Next week, thanks for letting me do it solo this week. I very, very much appreciate the tips. I very, very much appreciate all the people who are on my Patreon, where this show will be moving next month. So if you want to continue watching the show and being a fan, and you will have to put, I don't know, $3, $5, $10 or whatever into my Patreon every month, and that's it. But you will get all the other things as well. And if you want to find out about my music, this is where you can find out about everything Jeff Plankenhorn. It doesn't matter if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, Links to my music is here, all the new stuff. um, and then what else? What else? What else? What else? Did I say all of it? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, tour. Carolyn Wonderland openers this weekend. There are still general admission seats available, but we're going to sell those things out. I can feel it. Carolyn's new album is spectacular, and she is it's very, very much an honor. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so Friday night at the Heights in Dallas, Saturday at the Kessler. Sunday night in Austin, Resentments, 7:30 p.m. Big tribute to Stephen Bruton, the founder of the Resentments, and music of his all night. I got a new version of Trip, Stumble, and Fall that I did the other day, which I love that song. Let's see. Great fun as always. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Wayne. I don't really have a learn in my lists, but that would be kind of a cool notepad one as well. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Lady D, for always being here and helping out and putting things in the chat. Thanks to Austin City Jams.com as well for putting this on a thing where people who don't dig the socials necessarily, or the YouTubes, or the Facebooks, or the Twitches. I really, really appreciate you people. I'll be flying down on Thursday. Until then, oh, Charles, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I try and get everybody's question. And the best thing that you did, Charles, that everybody should try to do is you got that question in early. You know, a lot of times I'm sitting here writing questions, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Thank you, Jeff. And thanks to Carolyn Wonderland for the special appearance. Thanks, Danielle. Yes, thank you, Carolyn. And thanks everybody for your great comments and for keeping this a great, I don't know, fun kind of hang and learning space for everybody. More to come. Best to you and yours. Stay safe. Vote. Vote, 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 vote. It's probably not too late to vote, right? Somebody want to tell me? Okay, let me know. Sherry, thanks. Senseis, I will see you both soon. Thank you so very, very much. And y'all have a great day. I got to do some recording. Voting till 7 in Austin. Get down there and do it. Get down there and do it. It's not too late. It's important. All right, everybody. Bye.